Male sex workers of Reddit. How do your clients look like and what is your most and least common request? I worked as a BDSM-style sex worker where I also would crossdress when I was younger and less developed. Still do it for fun. But once I had a guy suspended from a tree and was shocking the shit out of his balls in my backyard. He was a regular super masochist, which means that there is more of a chance of injury since super masochists are much more likely to request something that will injure them. I mean really injure them, like pounding their ass to a pulp, tying them in a way where they are not conscious of their body and end up with nerve damage. So this is all pretty easy to tell since I experimented on myself a lot, knowing what I can handle and how different ties would feel on me. But this guy wanted to go pretty far. I don't do body modification, at least then I didn't. I have been hung by knees once. And this guy pretty much requested the one no in that scene. Castration. He was begging me to cut his balls off. I had them cinched up in a rope which measured about 1.5 inches from base of the scrotum, pulling his balls and squeezing them at the limits of his scrotum. I only had my rope cutter handy, and sure as was not cutting his balls off. I took him down and calmed him down. He apologized profusely. I never saw him again, even though he requested to see me again. I just could not risk it. Most of my clients just wanted to be dressed up as a girl and told what to do. Bit of chastising, some sensory stuff, some behavior modification. Most of them were men. A few were women. But age group was older than myself, 30 plus. The younger clients usually demanded more and more. The older were much more measure and smarter. Usually would make anywhere from $500–1,000 a night. I could do multiple sessions in one night, but then it takes the fun out of it. And when you are pushing your body like that every day, things become a bit blurry and you lose sight of the most important thing with this kind of play, which is safety. In a good week I may have pulled in 2,500.00. I wasn't a full-time hooker, but I escorted exclusively for just one man. I was a uni student. He was married with kids. He was actually a very attractive man. He would come over and suck me off. That's it. Our sessions never lasted more than 10 minutes and I never sucked him. Started off as 80 pounds per BJ. Eventually went up 160 pounds per BJ. Sometimes higher if he was feeling friskier. It lasted for 3 years and I easily made at least 600 pounds every month. Paid off all my student loans and I'm now debt-free. I was more of like a straight-up hooker for a few months a couple years back. All my clients were guys. Very diverse. Some were old fat rude men. Some middle-aged married guys. Black, white, Indian. Even some younger guys that I thought were very attractive. Most common was them blowing me, which I didn't expect. Least common was this regular I had kept asking me to not shower cause he wanted me to be right. I've worked as fin dom. The usual is cash point meets I meet the sub at a cash machine. He gives me his debit card and PIN. I withdraw what I want as he watches. That's it really. I didn't see many replies from guys servicing males, which as someone else posted is by far the most common setup in the US. So here's mine. When I was 25 I did this for a few months between jobs. Standard rate is $200 per hour if you're in a major city like NYC or SF. It's fairly easy to get clients, but at least 50% of people reaching out just want to talk or get you to talk to them while they jerk it and won't set up a meeting. So it pays to be very direct and to the point with your customer service. 70% or so of guys wanted very vanilla stuff. Kissing. Maybe some oral. They were typically middle-aged average-looking business guys who seemed lonely. In my experience they were always perfectly pleasant. One guy made me a cheese and fruit plate for when I arrived. These were sad sometimes. The remainder would be very specific kinky requests. Those were the worst since they'd typically want to get straight to business. The vanilla dudes would spend half their time chatting. Some specific ones I remember. Guy who liked getting escorts to f*** him bareback. Guy who wanted to get fisted. Like, urgently. But hadn't cleaned out very well. I charged him extra. It wasn't the worst experience, overall. But I found it kinda killed my enjoyment of sex outside of working, so quit as soon as I was getting income from my real job. Happy to answer any questions. Did escorting for a few months after college. Recently stopped after I got a call from a D.C. number wanting to book me for 5 consecutive overnight stays in another town offering $800 per night. They didn't say any details, just wanted to book real quick and basically the whole thing felt like a sting operation. I said I just give massages and don't or have any kind of sex and they never got back with me after that. Overall though, it's good money if you're smart about it and have boundaries and don't let anyone convince you to cross them. Saying no is hard, BC the money is so good. typically 200 per hour. But there really is a lot of guys looking for younger dudes to suck their dick or get or do fetish shit. It's pretty surprising actually. A very wide spectrum of looks. Mostly guys that I would not sleep with if it wasn't for money, ranging to guys I thought were with me because they are hotter than me. Most common request was verbal degradation, spitting, slapping. I advertised as BDSM and let they guys request what they want. Least common was probably to me, haha. I played up the whole macho masculine role and it worked. Except times I was really into a guy and actually wanted to get but did want to break character. When I was 19 years old, I traveled to NYC for a week and visited Shake Shack a few hours after arriving. I called my mom while I was in line and I told her I arrived. Yada yada. A man behind me overheard my conversation and asked me if I had any friends or family in town. We sat down together and he bought me a beer. He told me that I was handsome and he wanted to help me out by having me stay at his place. I would have said no, but he said he was a doctor and showed me his credentials. He told me he wanted me to walk around his apartment naked and just spend time with him while he wasn't working. He paid me $500 a night. When we went to the underground garage, a lot of cars had MD on the plates and I even saw a few US representative plates. I haven't been to NYC since, but he said I've always got a place to stay. Did not have sex and would definitely do again. I worked as a nude housekeeper in college for what I assume were gay men 30s to 60s. I would just strip down and do various housecleaning tasks in the buff. If they had a secluded yard, I sometimes did gardening. I got paid $100 an hour on average. I would occasionally have anal or oral sex if they were attractive or offered me a lot of money. I found most of my clients on Craigslist or Grindr or by word of mouth. Most of the time they just watched me and jacked off. Sometimes they made me wear skimpy underwear or a jock strap. There were a couple of creeps, but mostly the guys were nice. My best experience was with this guy who lived in what had to be a $5 million swanky modern-looking house on a lake. We ended up eating chef-prepared food, crushing around in his boat and swimming naked in his pool, and he paid me $3K to spend the night and have sex with him. Some retired guy who had some business in oil. I didn't clean a thing that day. What I should have said is I assumed they were mostly gay men. There were several times when I cleaned house and saw pictures of the guy with his wife or kids. Yes, I'm gay. It was uncommon that I slept with my clients. Sometimes I let them touch me. I charged more for sex, depending on the act and how unattractive the client was. If their house was really nice, usually I asked for more just because I knew they could afford it. Yes, the money was good, but I was a full-time student and had a social life, so I didn't do it enough to make bank. $100 per hour. Holy shit, I'm not even gay, but I'll quit my job tomorrow. Worked through Craigslist for a little while. Fell off the wagon once I ended up meeting with someone I knew from high school. Mostly it was older, larger women. Most of them wanted to be eaten out. But there was one girl. Oh my god. We were the same age. She was covered in tattoos, my favorite of which being a chest piece featuring the Time Turner from Harry Potter. Pierced nipples and clit. The works. We met up at a motel near where she lives and went at it. After a while, I lit up a cigarette as she laid in bed and she got up suddenly and began to vomit in the bathroom. After about a half hour she comes out and apologizes and proceeds to pull a huge bag of prescription pill bottles out of her purse. After she sees my surprise, she tells me she has cancer and is trying to have a little fun since her boyfriend did nothing but work to pay her bills but would always be too tired to touch her. There were a lot of times I found out I was a guy on the side, but that charge made me particularly sad. I used to work as a male model at nightclubs in Shanghai, China. From there I was introduced to a bunch of people who offered me jobs at other places. And to make a long story short, I ended up working basically as a straight-up escort. The clients were usually wealthy, high-end women over 35 years of age. Oldest client I took on must have been around 55. The most common requests would either be dinner at a fancy restaurant, followed by drinks in some VIP lounge, followed by spending the night at her hotel room, being her date at an event, her showing you off to her friends, basically acting as her boyfriend for the night, then spend the night at her hotel room, go directly to her hotel room, have sex, then leave. I didn't have many weird requests. No pervy stuff. Although the most memorable one I can think of was when I was asked to have sex with a 30-something woman in front of her much older husband. She kept yelling things at him in Chinese while we were having sex, as he was sitting on a chair in the corner of the room, wearing nothing but underwear, a shirt and a suit jacket. He also looked super pissed every time she yelled something at him. I feel bad, but that last scene is hilarious. Amateur escort here. I'm gay. And I only see male clients. I used to see this fat old European guy. He was really into getting his body massaged with lotion, and kissing with tongue. Made small talk while I massaged him. That is pretty much what we did. And for an hour and a half he would give me $250 cash. Met another guy last week. He's older, muscular and kinda hot. I let him me for like an hour for $150. Anyway, how is everyone else here making thousands?